You're hot! Okay, Matt's down, Matt's out, Matt's out. Matt's out of play.
You're good. You're good. 6 o'clock direction or whatever.
You know, it's really a wonder any search can be successfully conducted, given all the potential danger and then the contradictory advice you hear. The ugly fact is a hidden, waiting, premeditated opponent has a strong chance of outfoxing you if you don't have flashbangs, stun grenades, smoke, gas, a flashlight, and a psychic talisman in your backpack. And most of us have way less than half of this in our kit. But still, we must search on.
Let's get 2 more.
In Training Mission 1, we learned to quick draw under the stress of an immediate attack. We pulled our pistol and long guns and shot the enemy, or made him freeze, or made him flee, which causes our sudden need to search for him. Level 1 brought us to the precipice of a search for the enemy. Here in Level 2, we are walking point, a military phrase connoting the lead man in a search team, the one who looks, listens, smells, and feels everything around him. But unlike an advancing team, you are usually alone, acting as a point man, middleman, and rear security. Searching for people who will actually shoot you when you find them is a treacherous road, one that I've been on many times. Here are some of the things that I've done and learned. You know that we can count on a few things during a search. Many times houses and buildings are all built in a very similar fashion. We might be able to detect where the light switch is. We know that there's going to be hallways and doors and windows and stairs. Some regions of the country have basements. Others, you can almost say, always have an attic. These are the intelligence tips that we carry with us on almost every search that we go on. Here we are in daylight. You may think, oh, I don't need a flashlight to do this search or to answer this call or to go look at this problem. But you may find yourself suddenly behind just a few closed doors, and then the darkness begins to come in. It's always good to have lights. You may find yourself in a pitch black basement or a cave. You know, most civilian and police pistol gunfights occur between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., leaving us to fight in a low light or no light situation. The sudden light and darkness, and its reverse, sudden darkness and light, have disabilities in a combat situation. But you may suddenly find yourself in this pitch black basement or cave, and you know we need flashlights. Rarely, if ever, are you in complete and total darkness. There's usually some sort of ambient light, light seeping in a door frame, reflections of traffic outside bouncing off a window glass, a light source from across the street or down the road, or simple moonlight may create this ambient light that you need to use to detect your enemy, but also your enemy can detect you. In carrying a flashlight, I just want to say there's just a few simple methods. I would prefer that you know and do them all and work through them as needed rather than adhere to one strict philosophy. You know, the people who are compelled to hold weapons at all times with 2 hands like to have these supported grips. But really, it doesn't help you against recoil too much. But nonetheless, many of the 2-handed grips were created as a support system and platform to shoot your weapon. But in summary, without mentioning these names of people that have been attached to these positions as though they've created some individual cures for cancer, their names are attached to just simply holding a flashlight. You can hold a flashlight below the weapon, to the sides of the weapon, or above. And in some FBI quarters, they would often tell you never hold the flashlight in front of yourself because presumably the bad guy will instinctively shoot at the light. Very good words to the wise. They would often hold their flashlight away from their bodies to try to prohibit this from happening. Just keep in mind, limit the use of your flashlight. Have a silent on and off switch so that the enemy can't find you. He can see you coming when your flashlight's on all the time. And I want you to be flexible about how you use your flashlight, not in any rigid particular methodology.
Ready near, stand by. You're hot!
At its basis, cornering is a very simple process, and many times we refer to it as slicing the pie. Just keep in mind that searching anywhere and coming around corners and through doorways of any place against a dedicated shooter is always a dangerous situation. But principally speaking, slicing the pie can be explained very easily, and there are two slight differences in the development of the process, which we'll talk about now. We are going to peek around the corner. Now, one methodology is a very skittish one, which I tend to like. It's very nervous and skittish and quick to jump back. And so in the skittishness, it looks like we're peeking and back and peeking and back. And that has a strategic problem that we'll discuss in a second. But here would be a quick peek, I earn that space, I keep it, I keep it, I keep it. I see more of a funnel of vision in front of me. I keep it, I keep it, I corner in this manner. Again, against a dedicated shooter who wants to kill you anyway, he'll shoot you at the first peek or the second. But nonetheless, it's all shades of terrible. You've got to get around this corner somehow. Other methodology in slicing the pie is when you get a space, you keep it. You don't act skittish and pop back. And so, I've earned it, I keep it. I've earned it, I keep it. I step out, I've earned it, I keep it. I earned it, I keep it, in this manner. So those are the two ways. I like being very skittish when you're going around the corner because you tend to be ready to jump back in case there's heavy fire. One thing I caution you when facing multiple opponents, slicing the pie is not always the best thing, certainly in urban combat, because as I step back from cover, which is a good idea, and by the way, all these cover issues will be discussed in level 6, training mission 6 of the gun course, run, shoot, and cover. I stay away from here because of ricochets and my inability to slice the pie if I'm up too close. As I step back and I step out and I'm looking around, I may step into the line of fire of an accomplice or a comrade of this person. And so, you know, we always have to think about that. And in that case, slicing the pie is not the most optimum way to turn a corner. What will the enemy see first coming around the corner? Will it be the brim of a hat? Will it be the end of a single-handed or double-handed grip of a pistol? Will it be the flagging elbow of a long gun? Remember that still in some military doctrine today, they make you create a pad in your shoulder to reduce recoil on long gun firing. To create a proper pad, many agencies and armies ask you to raise an elbow up to secure the weapon into this position. Now this is doctrine, you see, and it creates a muscle memory and doctrine for you to walk around all the time with your elbow up. I've seen some of the biggest militaries in the world make this mistake. Otherwise, smart, more stealthier operations have the elbow down. You can still reduce recoil and create a pad here for your stock pretty successfully without having the raised elbow. This creates a lesser target profile and covers you better when you're trying to make these turns around corners. Elbow down. It's got to be the doctrine for your operation. It seems to be human nature that when someone wants to position themselves to peer around the corner, they tend to accidentally place their toe a little further than what they're going to look around. This leads, of course, to the problem that we just saw, the toe tip-off in the cornering process. We don't even realize that we're doing it, yet to peek around, we often innocently extend the front of our foot beyond the corner. The same thing is true with a knee. People may extend their knee first around the corner. If you're looking for a suspect, be looking for his knee and his toe. If you're searching for a suspect, watch out where your knee and your toe go. In some military situations, when you know that there's nothing but a dedicated enemy there in a hot combat zone, you turn the corner by shooting first. Let the bullets lead the way around the corner. Hit.
Okay, carries down. 1-on-1. Okay, that's down. 1-on-1.
Gun arm, huh?
Press on, Eddie. Press on, Eddie.
When you work through a building, it's never a good idea to leave any closed doors behind you. Technically, in a perfect search, you should open that door, search that room, and then secure it because it's behind you. A hidden enemy may suddenly assault you from the rear. Now, I've searched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of businesses and homes, and it's very hard to conduct the timely, perfect search under certain circumstances. But as a tactical decision, never leave a door behind you that you haven't secured. Crossing doorways is an interesting thing. We are so prone to seeing this typical Hollywood we call Starsky and Hutch doorway passage, where the person starts in this position over here, comes down this way, and comes around this way. Just junk science. You're in the doorway, you're suddenly this giant silhouette. Never spend time in the doorway too long, because this entire process, you're just a beautiful silhouetted target. If you must pass an open area that includes a doorway where an enemy might be, try to make it as quickly as possible. Are you just sick to death of these Mouseketeers on television and in the movies who are compelled to walk around in these big two-handed grips, spinning around, coming up the doorways like this. This is just junk science. And unfortunately, it infects the minds of students and seeps into some doctrine of some police agencies and in the military. And it's just a bad videotape of a copy of a bad one of a bad one of a bad one. It just gets worse. You have Hollywood Low with this straight arm pose. It's not very conducive to walking around. You'll see at a doorway like this, you know? And so they open the door and they go through, gun first, violating the rules that we just discussed, as well as allowing the opponent on this side of the wall to snatch up your double hands and your pistol. Hollywood Low also has a problem in that if you hit some rough terrain as you're searching around, it is in recorded history that people shoot their feet and their knees in all this motion like this. Hollywood High is this movie poster position. They attribute it to the old Miami Vice TV show, although I think it's been around longer than that. And in the chaos of searching places, sometimes, and this is also recorded, you stumble, you climb stairs, and have a friendly fire incident on yourself. And people have blown bits of their face off in different surprise Hollywood High positions. If you're going to search, make an effort. This is to do something like this. You know, this is a nice, safe two-handed grip. It's a counter to a disarm in a way because you have two hands. You're controlling recoil. And you may drop the weapon down so as to prevent friendly fire situations. But you don't have this extended cornering thing, which you have more of a tight center control. The weapon's under your nose. And pros really appreciate this. It only took a few searches in the early 70s for me to realize that I did not favor a long gun or a shotgun in building searches. It's confining in many times in situations to be searching inside hallways and businesses and houses, and the ability to swing this weapon around is problematic. And so while I've had many people prefer to have a shotgun, I have always searched with a pistol. One of the advantages of apprehending an enemy soldier or a criminal with a shotgun is this is sheer overwhelming intimidation of having a shotgun. However, you have to worry about maneuvering inside places and trying to work doors and so forth, having this long gun. I've always opted for a pistol, and I want you to make an intelligent choice between the two. And another tip. Long guns are usually accompanied by slings. Slings can be a pain in a search. As you walk down the hallway, a sling might catch or wrap on a piece of furniture, and then you're caught. You've made a sound that detects your arrival, something of this nature. Always be aware of your sling and try to wrap it up in such a manner as it does not interfere with the operation of your weapon or the subsequent operation of reloading your weapon. So here we have a common room that you may have to search for the enemy. But it will use the door frame as an example of how to enter into a room. Sometimes you go straight in, but it's always good to be able to have sliced the pie to get as much visual as possible. And head to something that appears to give you some cover, not concealment, but something that may actually stop the rounds of a common enemy. So you have a method that is straight in from where you are. You go straight to some sort of cover. Another typical way is to button hook, like a football play. And then another typical way we'll show you is to X over. Now please keep in mind that when you're talking about highly trained special operations teams and SWAT teams and so forth, these simplistic definitions have a much deeper meaning and more tactics involved to them. But basically for the common searcher, these are very simple to remember, and that's why I like to use them. If I have secured the room as best I can visually, I'm hoping that there may be something I can get behind over here. I may button hook in, which means coming around and stepping over to here. This way, I'm hoping that I have something I can get behind. And I'm not the instinctive silhouette target lingering in the doorway, but rather I've snaked around the corner. The other quick way is the X, but if I'm alone, if you're alone, we have no one else to X with, so we're doing a crossover as quickly as possible. If I start over here, I want to have something of cover over here. You know, in real life, you're going to enter rooms many, many times, and there is no cover. It's like I say, these situations are all different shades of terrible. Here we would be here. I've seen everything I possibly can by slicing the pie, and then, so as not to stay in the doorway as the classic silhouette, I bolt over and come in, hoping to take the next action. Now, with all this talk of silhouettes, do we really need to mention the dangers of hanging out in the open frame of a window? We use the same principles. We don't expose our silhouette in a window. If we pass a window, we should probably go below the window frame. Remember, searching is an athletic endeavor. You must be pliable and limber enough to crawl, to knee walk, to get around and under and over some of these objects. But don't spend too much time in the window of a suspicious place. I want to talk to you for a second about your footwork. As we just mentioned, searching is an athletic endeavor, and it is often important when you do a search that you walk in such a manner as to respond quickly to an athletic situation. Many special forces operations and SWAT teams will teach a group methodology of a sort of a knock-kneed walk that gives you a balance and a steadiness for a better shooting platform. Now, this is easy to teach groups, and I'm telling you that you can develop your own other than a knock-kneed walk. We just don't want somebody walking around like this and your gun bouncing around. You have your weapon steady, balanced, good shock absorbers is what we're looking for in your searching walk. Low, athletic, knock-kneed if you wished. If you happen to be bow-legged, knock-knee is a problem, but develop some way that you can traverse terrain, whatever it might be, as smoothly as possible.
Move back, move back.
And remember, when you are searching with a drawn weapon, keep your finger off the trigger until the last second to prevent accidental discharges and then deaths and injuries from friendly fire. There's two main ways to do this, and by the way, this is a replica pistol that I'm waving cavalierly around the room and at the camera. But there are two main ways to do this. One favorite is to run your trigger finger parallel to the weapon, putting it inside the trigger guard till the last second. And another way that's favored by some experts is to have a bent finger in this manner so it's quickly dropped inside. Nonetheless, we lose many of our friends and comrades to friendly fire, and we need to keep our finger off the trigger, out of the trigger guard, to the last possible second.
Watch behind you.
chased armed men through fields, woods, in the dark and daylight. I've searched for armed men inside homes and businesses over the last 3 decades. I've caught some, and some have escaped. And I have been shot at. And if I could give you a few more pieces of advice, I would like to say that whenever possible, when you can get back to your squad car or back to your shelf or anywhere where you carry this stuff, carry this simple, easy to obtain kit with you. It's just 3 pieces. A good axe, a piece of rope, and a mirror. Breaching, or in civilian terms, breaking open a door. And that may be necessary. And a cheap axe like this comes in real handy. There are what I call nostalgia tomahawks on the market. They're cool, but they don't offer the heft and the striking surfaces that a cheap axe like this offers. Don't forget to go through walls too if you have to. And in a pinch, this axe is not a bad weapon at all. This cheap mirror is for a bicycle. It is slightly curved to offer a broader view. Now, some police supply companies make such mirrors so that you can clip them on the end of expandable batons. See around corners with this cheap device. Now, this rope comes in camo. It's very good for dark and nighttime operations, and it can be found in hunting stores. I bought this particular piece at Lowe's hardware store. $12. Cut and carry a reasonable length with you for a whole host of tasks, such as opening up doors from a safe distance. Very, very simply, just make a simple slip knot at one end, leave it rather open, take the other end, feed it through there. Tighten this if you wish, and you've got a simple hooking or pulling device that you can use for a whole variety of tasks while searching.
Hey, Jim, you can go dynamic.
Hidden man can move. Hidden man can move. That's what it's all about.
As long as it works, it's in good shape.
And as my friend Colonel David Hackworth would say, always have a go-to-hell plan for those times when every other plan and precaution has failed.
We cannot reproduce here in this overview DVD the several hundred life-saving search tips, tactics, and strategies listed in the book Training Mission 2. Please read this book for so much, much more. Also, attend our seminars.
Too close, Jim. Back up. Too close to the corner. There you go. Get your distance. Good. Move up. Take that barricade right in front of you. Cover each other.
Hit. Okay, Eddie's down. Got one more. Okay, Eddie, you're out. Go ahead and relax. Stay where you're at, though.
Yeah.
Stand down, stand down, stand down. Good job, guys.
That was real good. That's the slow.